don't have any rights. We are scum. Don't you didn't know that?
I knew that. I knew that all the way. But I feel it's really crazy because George Soros is funding it.
You know, I did see that. Yeah, George Soros is a stay there. I want you to finish up any other points you got, and then we're going to go to Bubbles and others. Stay with us. I'm Alex Jones. I want to hear that clip where the student confronts Jeb Bush. Pro-abortion group labels not killing 20-week-old babies as inhumane. That's a close quote. Not putting children in gas chambers is evil too, I guess, according to these people. But right now, finishing up with Chris. Chris, I knew that the U.S. government was bringing in a bunch of Syrians, and the word was they were using the claim that they were refugees from the Syrian conflict that our government helped fund to bring in people to be trained here. But now we see that George Soros pledged $1 million to support robust global response to ongoing humanitarian crisis in Syria of the $3.8 million to bring these people in. So that is simply incredible, isn't it? And again, I'm not against bringing real refugees in, but do you think our government that's financing the takedown of Syria would then actually want to help the Christians they're slaughtering? What do you make of that, Chris?
I honestly say it's biblical.
Hey, Mr. Lee. Mr. Lee,
if anybody honestly would go look at Isaiah 10, God talks about it being their his arm. Hello?
Yes, sir. I'm listening to you.
Okay. I'm sorry. I just got quiet. I apologize.
Well, yeah, it'll be quiet if I'm not talking over you.
Oh, yeah. Okay. But
Here, I'll talk over you. Does that make it better? I'll just talk and then you talk. Oh, no, I'm joking. Go ahead.
No, it's just really wild to me about the whole thing. It's biblical. And then, you sit back and you think, then now Fort Bragg is working with Columbia, Richland County, which is only, I want to say, a county away from York County.
Yes, for those that don't know, they were doing gun confiscation drills basically a few days ago. We covered that. Thank you for the call. The people running things are bold enough to try to get the military prepared for a takeover. We don't know if Jade Helm is that takeover. Certainly now that everybody's watching it and looking at it, I don't think it's going to be the case. But if I was thinking like the globalist, who I know have been preparing the public that the Patriots are going to attack the military, you would then take this story, hype it up, pretend that I'm calling for violence, have violence, which is either stirred up or manufactured, and then use that to demonize anybody that's against a military rollout on the streets of America. We also have the military doing wellness checks door to door that are really knock and talk. And I mentioned knock and talk last week, and I saw a bunch of emails saying, Alex, there's no such thing as that. Police aren't coming to people's doors asking about what guns they own. Strangely enough, I haven't seen any news about knock and talk in about a year, but I know it's still going on in all 50 states federally funded. And they'll give police departments sometimes millions of dollars for cameras or uniforms or cars or whatever the case is. But written into the stipulation of the contract is you will do X number of knock and talks with X number of officers. And boy, in Dallas, it didn't fly. They went into the rich areas, knocked on thousands of doors over and over again during the day, asking rich housewives to come in and inspect their husbands' guns. And so now that we mention that, will you guys search engine on YouTube, police do knock and talk for firearms, and then do it on Google too and find me some articles? Because I understand why new listeners tune in and think, that's made up, that's crazy, there's no way. Because, I mean, that's tyranny, isn't it? We've got footage, I know I've seen it, years ago we aired it, in Boston where they don't take no for an answer, they force their way in at the knock and talks. And of course you saw what happened after the Boston bombing, they did it to everybody. So it's just all about getting rid of the Fourth Amendment. So we'll find some knock and talk too. We're going to take more calls, stay with us. Came out 2 years ago and said it was basically all false, 100% false. And then he started backing off that. But the whole thing's fake. It was a body double. being held there at the facility next door to the military base. The whole thing was totally staged. We've had the Navy SEAL families on who had their children killed, their sons killed, and we know how the whole thing went down. Oh, and I told you how it all went down within 3 months of it happening because they blew up the helicopter to get rid of the witnesses, and then we got all the intel. So, and look, it all came out. See, they're not invincible. I want to go to Bubbles and Dave and Steve and Wild and Corey, and then that'll be it for calls for the day. But cutting to Jakari Jackson real quick. Jakari, you've got a special report you're filing that we're going to premiere here at the bottom of the hour. They'll give us more analysis, but tell us what this pertains to with the Second Amendment.
Yes, we have an article on the site. I believe Adon put it out. House bill seeks to eliminate online ammo sales, and this is a New Jersey representative, Miss Coleman. She has H.R. 2283, which is basically the Stop Online Ammunition Sales Act of 2015. And what this will do, Alex, is require face-to-face purchases of ammunition.
So they can register the fact that you own ammo, like Walmart and others have been trying to get people's names and info. And the reason this is important is this legislation is getting introduced all over the country. Just like the forced inoculation started 3 months ago in California as legislation and is now in more than 40 state legislatures moving its way through. The fight is on. It's getting voted down in some states, being passed in others. So thank you so much, Jakari. We'll get details on that coming up at the bottom of the hour with you in studio.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go back to your calls, but I never got to this last hour when I was getting into the fact that Al-Qaeda has MRAPs that they supposedly, got from the Iraqi military. And we played a clip of part of that newscast, but we don't yet have the part that I wanted. But as soon as we do get that, I'm reminding folks we're going to do that, the kind of direct stuff just from here on the air. I'm going to integrate it in with this clip of Jeb Bush being confronted about his brother being involved, helping basically expand Al-Qaeda. So that is going to be coming up as well. But right now, let's go ahead and go to Bubbles in Utah. Bubbles, you're on the air. Welcome.
Be nice, or I confiscate it. Hello?
Yeah, I'm having some audio problems. Bubbles, were you talking to me just now?
Yeah, I'm going to mute that, okay? Hello?
I'm going to have to let you go. Your phone's got a problem. Dave in Missouri, you're on the air. Go ahead.
This here's Alex Jones. I got some snake oil for sale.
That's what I thought. These are prank callers. Sometimes we don't get prank callers very often, but then they only come through in groups. And that's what's starting to go on here. Because that's all the establishment does is they make fun of people in the West or the South. And I guess because they're from the East, they think they're smarter than everybody. I like folks from the East that are regular people. I don't like folks that put on the fake Atlantic accent or the fake country club accents of, how dare you not want to turn your guns in? I'm going to have bodyguards, but you're not going to have any guns. I'll tell you what, would you rather I speak in a slimy London accent for you? Will that make it sound like I was more intelligent? In fact, let's do that for a moment. Steve in Texas, I bet because you live in Texas, you don't even have floors. You live on dirt floors, and I would imagine that you sign your name as an X. You leave your mark. You're part of those hillbillies festooning themselves with spittoons, and that I would imagine that you're a bitter clinger. What do you have to say today, Steve, about the backwardness of your state?
Hey, Alex, I've been listening to you for about 15 years, and I may sound like a hillbilly, but my family's been in Texas since 1843, and I live in Bastrop County.
Well, what's wrong with having a Texas accent?
I get crap for it for years. The whole time I was in the military, they called me Tex and everything else. What I called about, so not to take up too much of your time, I want to say today Fox News released a video, some video footage of what's going on in the battle for Ramadi. And those guys are in black uniforms with patches on it. The uniforms are well taken care of. They're wearing Kevlar helmets, and they got helmet cams on them, and they're using U.S.-made weapons.
I know, and I saw it this morning on Fox. If we don't have it today, we'll have it on Sunday. And I saw them on Fox, and they got a different clip than what I wanted. And it's my fault because I wasn't in there to tell them which clip. But it's people in black uniforms with U.S. equipment and U.S. training, with the whole Special Forces get up, and they've got Special Forces Toyotas that were fitted for Special Forces. They got Special Forces equipment. They've got regular Army MRAPs. They've got everything. And I'm going to get Joe Biggs to do a whole report on this tonight. But absolutely, here, in fact, I'm told now we do have the clip of the MRAP. Here it is.
All right, breaking his silence, ISIS releasing an audio tape said to be from their leader, who has not been seen from in months. Why this has American security analysts worried. That's
Brand new
coming up top of the hour.
See that?
So meanwhile, as ISIS gains new ground, we're talking about the pressing that they're doing on Ramadi right now.
Special Forces
the Obama
Toyotas.
Administration is pressing a point.
And news articles have been written by the Iraqi government where it shows the trucks that are armored, the Toyotas, and then it shows them being made in the U.S. a few years ago. I mean, through Saudi Arabia, through Qatar, through Turkey, taxpayers are paying for ISIS. Do you understand the guys with black flags are trained by the U.S. and trained by NATO, and there is the MRAP, a giant, full-size, armored truck flying 2 al-Qaeda flags. And then I'm glad you mentioned this because I'm on the elliptical this morning for just 30 minutes. And I just kept, and then it showed them in, and I'm no soldier, but I study this. It looked like U.S. Special Forces equipment, but the uniforms were black. Go ahead, Steve.
Right. Yeah. Now I was in the military. I was a hospital corpsman, and I was with the Marine Recon Unit, and also spent a little bit of time around the Navy SEAL. So I know how these guys operate. And they're tagging each other on the back, moving, and those type of. So they've had American training, but some of them aren't American people because they're not holding their rifles in the right position. So some of them, and they're all clean shaven. They don't have beards and stuff like that. But there's a guy in web gear. He's got green web gear over his black uniform, and he's got a Kevlar helmet on. That guy's a team leader, and he's U.S. trained. I can tell you right now, he's a Westerner.
Well, that's the word, is they've got traitorous special forces retirees that are contractors that are leading these teams. And they admit they've been in there leading the Free Syrian Army against the Russians. And so I did see that. And again, imagine my poor crew. They're trying to go through a whole hour of Fox from 8 o'clock this morning to try to find what I want. But I did see that, and I thought, man, that looks like Western-trained people. And I thought, wow, ISIS is in some sharp uniforms now. But what do you make of Obama coming out and, quote, ordering the media to not show this footage? But they're claiming because it makes them look too strong. No, because it shows, just like in Ukraine, when they come up to the soldiers and they're Americans. They don't want that seen. Go ahead.
Well, it fits his narrative, but also in one of those scenes, there's a guy running, and he's got a boonie cover on, and he's clean-shaven. He looks like he shaved at 7 o'clock this morning, just like any other military person would, like they're supposed to. The only time they wear beards is when they're told to. And I don't know if these guys are Syrian special forces or they're Israeli special forces that are embedded with some U.S. special forces.
Well, it is true that Israel, incredibly shamefully, and this is not an anti-Israel statement, it's a fact, Israel has been through Lebanon and Golan openly aiding the Free Syrian Army, and because they've got the Arab spies that are trained, and they are a big part of this as well. You're absolutely right. The build of these guys, just from watching different military groups, is mixed. I mean, I can't tell, but it doesn't look like the usual Western recruited, snot-nosed, usually rich kid, Muslim, who wants to make a name for themselves, who goes and joins all this. It doesn't look like the ragtag people we saw the West funding the last few years. It looks like probably different Arab special forces mixed in with Westerners. What do you say?
I totally agree with you. And just so I can give some validity to who I am, I live here locally. I live over in Bastrop. I won't give my address, but I really don't care because I've been in this fight for a long time, and you ask what it would take for somebody to have the line drawn in the sand. There's so many